It's a Tuesday evening in March. Max is sitting at his kitchen table, staring at a number on his laptop screen. $11,400. 8 months of brown bag lunches, skipped concerts, and saying no to things he actually wanted. $11,400. And it feels like armor. 3 miles away, Simon is staring at the same number, $11,400. Except Simon's number isn't in a savings account. It's a brokerage account he opened with $9,000 back in July, already up $2,400. And Simon feels something Max doesn't feel right now. Simon feels like he's winning. But here's what neither of them knows yet. The feeling of winning and the reality of winning are two completely different things. Over the next 10 years, one of these men is going to look back at this Tuesday evening and wish he'd made a different call. The question is, which one? Welcome back to Wealth Theory. Today, I'm telling you a story about two decisions that real people make every single day. It involves money, psychology, and an uncomfortable truth about human behavior that most financial content refuses to touch. Max and Simon. Same age, same income, same starting point. One chose to save, one chose to invest. The results, 10 years later, are not what you'd expect from either direction. Let's go back to the beginning. July. Max and Simon are both 28. They met in college, stayed in the same city, and somehow ended up with nearly identical financial lives. Max works in logistics. Simon's in digital marketing. Neither is getting rich, but neither is drowning, at least on paper. Here's their shared snapshot. Take-home pay, $4,200 a month. Rent, $1,100. Car payment, $280. Food, $350. Phone and utilities, $180. Minimum debt payments, $320. Both carry about $14,000 in debt. Student loans mostly, a little credit card. That leaves roughly $2,000 a month in surplus. $2,000 every month, just sitting there, waiting for a decision. And this is where the story splits. They talked about it one Friday over beers. Real talk, the kind you have when you're in your late 20s and starting to realize adulthood isn't going to sort itself out. Simon went first. He'd been reading about index funds, compound interest, time in the market. He pulled out his phone and showed Max a compound interest calculator. Invest $1,000 a month at 28, earn 7% annually. After 10 years, you have roughly $173,000, even though you only put in $120,000. His argument, cheap debt at 4% loses to a market that historically returns 7%. Pay the minimums, invest the rest. Every month you wait is money left on the table. Max listened. He didn't argue the math, but he had a tightness in his chest that no calculator was going to fix. He'd watched his father carry credit card debt for 15 years. The phone calls, the tension at the dinner table, the way financial stress quietly corroded everything around it. Max wasn't being irrational, he was being honest about what debt did to the people he loved. Max called Simon's plan gambling. Simon called it investing. Max's plan, take the $2,000 surplus and attack the debt aggressively. Get to zero in under 2 years. Then, with no debt payments eroding his budget, invest more than Simon ever could. Both arguments are rational. Both have merit. Neither man is wrong, but they're about to live completely different lives. Simon opens a brokerage account and sets up $1,200 a month into a total market index fund. He continues minimum debt payments of $320. The remaining $180 or so just floats. The first 3 months are exciting. The market cooperates. His account climbs. He screenshots it, starts telling colleagues about dollar cost averaging. Feels smart. Then October hits and the market dips 8% in 3 weeks. His account drops. It's not catastrophic, but Simon feels it. That stomach drop when a number you were proud of suddenly gets smaller. He doesn't sell, but he starts checking the account every day. Sometimes twice. And every time the number goes down, there's a small but real cost to his peace of mind that doesn't show up on any spreadsheet. By month 12, Simon has invested $14,400. Account value, around $15,100. Debt remaining, around $10,200. Net position, positive $4,900. Max throws $1,680 a month at his debt, keeps $320 in a high-yield savings account earning around 4.5%. The rest is a small buffer. There's no dopamine hit here, no number going up on a screen, just a debt balance dropping, slowly, like watching ice melt. It doesn't feel like progress, it feels like maintenance. He says no to a concert in September, brings lunch 4 days a week, cancels 2 subscriptions, resists the urge to reward himself for small wins. By month 12, debt down from $14,000 to around $3,800. Savings, $3,840. Net position, roughly $40. On paper, Simon is miles ahead, and Max knows it. They talk about it. Honestly, Max starts to wonder if he made a mistake. Here's where this stops being a story about money. Simon is experiencing what you might call FOMO validation. The market is mostly cooperating. Every positive month feels like proof he made the right call. And that confidence, that slight inflation of certainty, starts nudging him toward decisions that are a little less disciplined than his investment strategy. Month 9, Simon replaces his laptop. It needed replacing, sure, but he buys the nicer model, $400 more than planned. The money comes from the buffer he was sort of saving, doesn't go into the brokerage that month. Month 11, a work trip where he could have shared a hotel room. He books his own, $90 more. The market's up, he feels flush, even though market performance has nothing to do with his checking account. These aren't catastrophic decisions, they're human ones, but they're the start of a pattern. His investment discipline and his spending discipline are 2 separate systems that aren't talking to each other. Meanwhile, Max is experiencing something behavioral economists call the pain of paying in reverse. Every debt payment feels like reclaiming something: autonomy, control, oxygen. The further the balance drops, the lighter he feels. By month 10, he doesn't need much willpower anymore. The behavior has become identity. He thinks of himself as someone who doesn't carry debt, even though technically he still does. That self-concept is incredibly powerful. Research shows that people who frame financial goals as identity, not "I'm trying to save money," but "I'm someone who lives below my means," follow through at significantly higher rates. Max hasn't read this research, he's just living it. Month 13, July. Max makes his final debt payment, $14,000, gone in 19 months. He sits at that kitchen table, opens his banking app, debt balance, 0. If you've ever paid off a real debt, you know this feeling is completely disproportionate to the number. It doesn't feel like a financial event. It feels like taking a full breath for the first time in 2 years. Starting in month 20, Max has $2,320 a month available, his original surplus plus the $320 that was going to debt. He opens a brokerage account, puts $1,920 a month into a total market index fund, keeps $400 going to savings until he builds a $12,000 emergency fund. He's investing late, but he's investing more, and from a position of 0 financial anxiety. Simon, meanwhile, is in a rough quarter. His account drops from $19,000 to $15,800. He knows this is normal. In practice, his emotional state is now tied to a number that fluctuates every day. He starts stress-checking the portfolio at work, watches YouTube videos about whether a crash is coming. For the first time, seriously considers pulling cash out of the market. He doesn't, but the mental energy it takes to not do it is real and exhausting. He's also still carrying $8,500 in debt at 4%. That's about $28 a month in interest. Small money, but combined with portfolio volatility, it creates a background hum of financial anxiety he didn't anticipate. Simon starts to realize something uncomfortable. He optimized his math. He didn't optimize his psychology. End of year 3. Simon, about $40,000 actually invested. Portfolio at 7%, about $44,500. Debt remaining, about $5,900. Net position, $38,600. Max, about $32,640 invested over 17 months. Portfolio at 7%, about $34,200. Debt, 0. Savings, $12,000. Total net position, $46,200. Wait, Max, who started investing 17 months later, who looked like he was losing badly after year 1, Max is now ahead. How? 3 things. He's investing more per month because there's no debt payment eating his surplus. He's investing without financial anxiety so he doesn't flinch when markets dip. And Simon's spending drift, small decisions compounding quietly, cost him roughly $3,800 in contributions over 3 years. Here's where I have to be honest with you. At this point, most financial videos would crown a winner. Max won because of psychology. Case closed. But life keeps happening, and life is not clean. Year 4. Max gets a chance to take a professional certification course. Cost, $2,800. He has it in savings. He pays for it, gets the role. 6 months later, his take-home pay goes from $4,200 to $5,100. That extra $900 a month goes almost entirely into investments. Also in year 4, Simon falls in love. They want to move in together, which means breaking his cheap studio lease early. $1,400 penalty. Life happens. Year 5. Max is putting $2,700 a month into the market. Simon, after a promotion, is back to aggressive investing at $1,500 a month. His debt is finally gone by month 54. No spreadsheet predicted the certification, the lease break, the promotions, and that's precisely the point. The financial plan that wins isn't the one with the best numbers on day 1. It's the one that can absorb real life without collapsing. Max and Simon are both 38. Simon, total invested about $158,000. Portfolio at 7%, about $201,000. Debt, 0. Savings, $8,000. Total net worth, $209,000. Difference, $69,000. Now, Simon is not failing. $209,000 in net worth at 38, 0 debt is genuinely strong. By most measures, he's ahead of the vast majority of his peers. But Max is ahead of Simon. Not because he found a smarter investment, not because he timed the market, not because he earned more at the start. He built a foundation first, invested more per month as a result, and never experienced the spending drift that comes from watching a portfolio number go up and feeling wealthier than you are. He also made the certification decision, which he could only make because he had liquid savings and no debt. Simon's money was working, but Simon's money couldn't raise its hand when an opportunity showed up. 3 things worth naming clearly. First, present bias. We consistently overvalue the present and undervalue the future. Simon's early investing felt like winning because the feedback was immediate. The number went up, he could see it. The advantages of Max's approach were invisible for 2 full years. Our brains are not built to weight invisible future advantages appropriately. Second, the cognitive cost of debt. Research from Princeton and Harvard shows that financial stress, even manageable financial stress, measurably reduces cognitive capacity. Max's debt payoff wasn't just financial, it was a cognitive freeing. He made better decisions in years 3 through 10, partly because he wasn't carrying that low-grade weight. And third, consistency as a compounding asset. Simon's strategy was theoretically better. His actual behavior was inconsistent. Drift, paused months, emotional energy managing market anxiety. Max's strategy was theoretically slower. His actual behavior was remarkably consistent. In finance, the gap between the theoretical model and the actual human behavior is where most wealth is lost. Not in bad investment choices, in good investment choices that people don't actually stick to. The best strategy isn't the one with the highest projected return. It's the one you'll actually execute without flinching for 10 consecutive years. I'm not telling you to be like Max. That would miss the point entirely. Some of you are Simon, high risk tolerance,
Market volatility doesn't keep you up at night. You have the discipline to invest consistently regardless of weekly performance. If that's genuinely you, Simon's path may suit you. The math on early investment is real. But before you default to obviously invest early, honestly ask yourself, when your investment account dropped 14% in 6 weeks, and it will, did you check it obsessively? Did you feel a pull to do something? Did your spending drift in the good months because you unconsciously felt wealthier? Have you ever paused a contribution because cash felt tight? If any of those are yes, the theoretical model of your strategy is not the same as your behavioral reality, and the gap between those two things is where your wealth is quietly leaking. Max didn't win because he was smarter. He won because he built a strategy that fit how he actually behaves under pressure, under temptation, under uncertainty. Then he ran it without deviation for 10 years. That's it. That's the whole thing. Max is 38. He's not rich by any dramatic definition, didn't retire early, didn't find a life-changing stock. He made reasonable money, lived reasonably, made one good career move, and invested consistently for 8 years. He has $278,000, zero debt, and enough in savings that when something breaks, his car, his health, his job, it's a problem, not a catastrophe. Simon's doing well too. $209,000 at 38 is not a failure story. Simon just learned something the slow way, that knowing the right strategy and living the right strategy are two separate skills, and the gap between those skills over a lifetime determines everything. Before you click away, one question, not a quiz, a real question worth sitting with. If your current financial strategy required perfect discipline every single month for the next 10 years, no drift, no pauses, no exceptions, would you honestly bet on yourself to do it? If the answer is an easy yes, keep going. If there's any hesitation, that hesitation is the most valuable financial information you have right now. Don't ignore it. Build around it. That's what Max did. Drop a comment below. Are you a Max or a Simon? If you've lived through either of these stories, I want to hear it. This channel is built on real conversations about money, not perfect ones. Like the video if it was worth your time. Subscribe if you want more of this kind of thinking. Wealth theory. Think deeper. Build smarter.